For the religious scholar, the history enthusiast, the biblical student, and the theology student alike, Iran's biblical journey is a compelling study of prophecy, power, and divine paradox. From the earliest genealogies in Genesis to the apocalyptic visions of Revelation, Iran, known throughout much of biblical history as Persia, is not merely a geopolitical entity. It is a vessel, meticulously shaped by divine hands for both judgment and redemption, a testament to God's overarching plan for humanity and His chosen people. The grand narrative of nations begins in Genesis chapter 10, often referred to as the Table of Nations, following the Great Flood. This foundational text meticulously outlines the dispersion of humanity from Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Within this crucial genealogical record, two names emerge with profound significance for the future of the Iranian plateau: Elam, a son of Shem, and Madai, a son of Japheth. These are not simply names on an ancient scroll. They represent the ancestral roots, the very ethnological bedrock, of what would eventually coalesce into the formidable Persian Empire. Elam's descendants settled to the east of the Tigris River, establishing one of the world's oldest continuous civilizations. Their capital, Susa, mentioned frequently in later biblical accounts, stands as a testament to their enduring presence and cultural sophistication. Madai's progeny, the Medes, populated the rugged highlands of western Iran, forming distinct tribal confederations. Over many centuries, these two distinct lineages, the Elamites and the Medes, would intermingle and evolve, laying the intricate cultural, linguistic, and ethnic foundations of ancient Persia. Their early history, though often shrouded in the mists of antiquity, foreshadows their pivotal role in God's unfolding historical drama. The biblical narrative quickly brings Elam into sharp focus in Genesis chapter 14, describing a dramatic and pivotal moment in early patriarchal history. Here, Chedorlaomer, identified as the king of Elam, leads a powerful coalition of eastern kings. Their objective, to crush a rebellion by the kings of the Jordan Valley, including the infamous cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. This ancient conflict highlights Elam's significant military and political influence in the region long before the rise of the great empires. In the ensuing chaos, Lot, Abraham's nephew, is captured and taken away with the spoils of war. This act of aggression by the Elamite-led coalition directly impacts the nascent covenant community. However, Abraham, demonstrating remarkable faith and strategic prowess, mobilizes his trained household servants, a mere 318 men. He pursues the victorious eastern kings, launching a daring night raid that results in the decisive defeat and the rescue of Lot. More than just a military victory, this event establishes a profound theological pattern that echoes throughout sacred history. No earthly empire, no matter how powerful or seemingly invincible, can ultimately prevail against God's covenant people when they are under His divine protection. This early encounter serves as a potent warning, a prophetic foreshadowing that even the mightiest nations are subject to the sovereign will of the Almighty. It underscores the principle that divine intervention can overturn human power structures, a theme that will recur with increasing clarity as the biblical narrative progresses. By the 8th and 7th centuries BC, the descendants of Madai and Elam began their ascent on the geopolitical stage. Under influential kings like Dionysus, who unified the Median tribes, and Cyaxares, who forged alliances, the Medes became a formidable regional power. They played a crucial role in the destruction of the Neo-Assyrian Empire, the dominant superpower of their era, fundamentally reshaping the ancient Near Eastern world order. This historical rise, however, was not merely a product of human ambition or military might. The biblical prophets reveal a deeper, divine orchestration at play. Through the inspired words of Isaiah and Jeremiah, we learn that the Medes and Elamites were divinely appointed instruments. Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 11, for instance, explicitly states, "Sharpen the arrows. Take up the shields. The Lord has stirred up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, because His purpose is to destroy Babylon." Even more stunningly, Isaiah, writing over 150 years before the event, names a future king, Cyrus. In Isaiah chapter 44 verse 28 and 45-1, Cyrus is explicitly called God's shepherd and anointed one, chosen to fulfill God's purpose by rebuilding Jerusalem and releasing the Jewish exiles. And so it came to pass. In 539 BC, the seemingly impregnable city of Babylon fell to the combined forces of the Medes and Persians under Cyrus the Great. This was not a mere conquest, it was the precise fulfillment of detailed prophecy. Cyrus, a pagan monarch, subsequently issued a decree allowing the Jewish exiles to return to their homeland and rebuild their temple in Jerusalem, Ezra chapter 1 verses 1-4. This is not coincidence, it is the undeniable demonstration of prophetic precision and divine sovereignty. Persia, a seemingly pagan empire, was meticulously chosen and utilized as a direct tool of divine restoration, illustrating God's ability to work through any nation to accomplish His redemptive purposes. The prophetic visions granted to Daniel further illuminate Persia's significant role in God's historical plan. In Daniel 2, Persia is depicted as the silver chest and arms of a great statue, symbolizing its strength and its succession to the Babylonian Empire. In Daniel 8, it is represented by a ram with two horns, signifying the dual power of Media and Persia, with the latter horn growing taller, indicating Persian dominance. Cyrus, through strategic brilliance and military might, absorbed the Median Empire into a unified Persian superpower, creating an empire of unprecedented scale and organization. Babylon, as prophesied, was taken with remarkable ease, often described as without a fight in historical accounts, aligning perfectly with the biblical narrative of its sudden fall. Cyrus's reign marked a revolutionary shift in imperial policy. Unlike previous conquerors who brutally suppressed conquered peoples, Cyrus implemented a policy of religious tolerance and cultural preservation. This benevolent approach was particularly evident in his treatment of the Jewish exiles. His decree, recorded in Ezra chapter 1, not only permitted but actively encouraged the Jews to return to Judah and rebuild their temple. This was an act of profound theological significance, directly reversing the Babylonian captivity and initiating the post-exilic period. Later Persian kings, such as Darius I, Darius the Great, and Artaxerxes I, continued to support this restoration. Darius confirmed Cyrus's decree and provided resources for the temple's completion, Ezra chapter 6. Artaxerxes later sent Ezra and Nehemiah to Jerusalem, empowering them to rebuild the city walls and re-establish religious and civil order, Ezra chapter 7, Nehemiah chapter 2. Thus, a pagan empire became the unlikely protector and benefactor of God's covenant people, demonstrating God's sovereign hand guiding the affairs of nations for the benefit of his chosen ones. This period stands as a powerful testament to God's faithfulness to his promises, even when working through unexpected instruments. The Book of Esther provides a vivid, intimate glimpse into the lives of the Jewish diaspora within the vast Persian Empire, specifically in the capital city of Susa. Here, a young Jewish orphan named Hadassah, known by her Persian name Esther, rises to an extraordinary position, becoming queen to King Ahasuerus, Xerxes I. Her elevation is not merely a tale of personal fortune, it is a meticulously orchestrated act of divine providence. The narrative unfolds with a sinister plot hatched by Haman, a high-ranking court official consumed by anti-Semitic hatred. He devises a scheme to annihilate all Jews throughout the Persian Empire, securing a royal decree for their genocide. This moment represents an existential threat to God's people, a direct challenge to his covenant promises. However, through the courageous intervention of Esther, guided by her cousin Mordecai, the plot is exposed. Esther, risking her life by approaching the king unsummoned, reveals Haman's treachery and pleads for her people's salvation. This is not simply a story of survival, it is a profound demonstration of divine choreography, where seemingly coincidental events align to avert catastrophe. Persia, once again, becomes the stage for God's redemptive work. The Jews are not only saved but are empowered to defend themselves, leading to a decisive victory over their enemies. The Feast of Purim, celebrated to this day by Jews worldwide, commemorates this miraculous deliverance. Once more, Persia, despite its pagan nature, served as the unlikely setting for God's intervention, proving that his protective hand extends even into the heart of foreign empires. Centuries after the events of Esther, the narrative of Persia's spiritual connection to God's plan reappears in the New Testament. In the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew chapter 2 verses 1 to 12, wise men from the east follow a miraculous star to Bethlehem, seeking the newborn king of the Jews. These individuals are identified as Magi, a term historically associated with the priestly and scholarly class of ancient Persia. They were likely heirs to a long tradition of astronomical observation and perhaps even the prophetic insights of Daniel, who served as chief of the Babylonian and Persian wise men, Daniel chapter 5 verse 11. The journey, guided by a celestial sign, culminates in their worship of the infant Jesus. The gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh, are not merely precious commodities, they are symbolic offerings fit for royalty, divinity, and sacrifice. Gold signifies kingship, frankincense points to deity, and myrrh foreshadows his suffering and death. This act of homage by the Magi is profoundly significant. It represents the first Gentile nation, through its most esteemed scholars, to acknowledge and worship the Messiah. This event underscores that even after the fall of the Achaemenid Persian Empire to Alexander the Great, and the subsequent rise of other empires, Persia's spiritual thread continued. The Magi's pilgrimage demonstrates that God's light transcends political boundaries and cultural divides, drawing even those from distant lands to his Son. It highlights the universal scope of God's redemptive plan, extending beyond Israel to encompass all nations, with Persia playing an early and symbolic role in this global recognition of Christ. The prophetic narrative concerning Iran extends into the eschatological future, particularly in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 speak of a massive, multinational coalition that will assemble in the latter days to attack Israel. This formidable alliance is led by Gog, of the land of Magog, and explicitly includes Persia, modern-day Iran, among its key members, alongside nations like Kush, Sudan, Put, Libya, Gomer, and Beth Togarmah, parts of modern Turkey. The imagery is intensely apocalyptic, depicting a final, desperate assault against God's restored people. This prophecy describes a scenario of overwhelming military might arrayed against a seemingly vulnerable Israel. However, the outcome is decisively determined by divine intervention. God himself intervenes with cataclysmic judgments, earthquakes, pestilence, torrential rains, hailstones, fire, and brimstone, utterly shattering the invading forces. The purpose of this divine judgment is clear. Then they will know that I am the Lord. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 23. This dramatic intervention will serve as a global revelation of God's power and sovereignty, vindicating his name before all nations. Yet, amidst this dark vision of future conflict, another prophetic word offers a glimmer of hope and future restoration for a part of this ancient land. Jeremiah chapter 49 verse 39 declares, "But in the latter days I will restore the fortunes of Elam, says the Lord." This prophecy, distinct from the judgment on Persia in Ezekiel, suggests a future act of divine mercy and restoration for the descendants of Elam. This juxtaposition of judgment and potential restoration for different aspects of the Iranian lineage presents a complex prophetic picture. Iran's final chapter, therefore, has not yet been fully written, holding both the potential for conflict and the promise of divine grace. From the earliest genealogies in Noah's family tree to the dramatic interventions of Cyrus, the courageous acts of Esther, the worship of the Magi, and the apocalyptic visions of Ezekiel, Iran, in its various historical manifestations, has been an undeniable and consistent presence in the biblical narrative. Sometimes it has served as a tool of divine judgment, a force for destruction against God's enemies. At other times, it has been a remarkable vessel of restoration, instrumental in preserving and protecting God's covenant people. Always, its role has been profoundly significant, demonstrating the intricate tapestry of God's sovereign plan. This comprehensive historical and theological analysis is not merely about one nation's journey through time. It is a profound exploration of divine patterns, prophetic precision, and the unwavering sovereignty of God in shaping human history. It reveals how God works through nations, leaders, and even seemingly random events to accomplish his eternal purposes. This is History Unburied, a journey into the depths of sacred texts to illuminate the present and anticipate the future. We invite you to continue this exploration with us. Subscribe for more in-depth analyses and explorations into the hidden patterns shaping our world. Like this video, share your insights in the comments below, and engage with this vital discussion. Where do you believe we are in the biblical timeline concerning these prophecies, and what implications do they hold for contemporary global affairs? Let the profound wisdom of the past illuminate the complexities of the present. For within these ancient, inspired texts lie not only the keys to understanding our history but also crucial insights into the unfolding drama of our future.